It's not that all stress is bad. It's just when it goes on too long, it can become chronic, and chronic stress wears us down. It depletes us. It starts to deplete our resiliency, our immunity, our ability to feel good in our bodies and minds. It dysregulates our nervous system, messes with our digestion, our sleep, our hormones, our ability to focus, and even our ability to feel joy. Hello, and welcome to the How to Take Care of Yourself podcast. It's your friend Veronica, and I am here to help you feel better. I don't sugarcoat it on this podcast, as you probably know if you've been listening to me for any length of time. I want to make sure that you have all the tools and tricks that you need to stay well in this often overwhelming, slightly weird world that we're living in. What can I say? It's not always easy, but there are always answers. There's always ways that we can make ourselves feel better. There are always ways that we can take care of ourselves. What I know about you, because you're joining this episode today, is that you're actually interested in taking care of yourself and you're ready to take the steps necessary to make sure that you feel good in your body and your mind. Today's episode is for anyone who's feeling a little cooked, a little stuck, or like they're barely holding it together. You know that feeling of treading water in a storm? That's what we're going to talk about today. But not just the storm, we're going to talk about what you can actually do when you're in it. Because even when things feel heavy and uncertain, there are ways to come back to yourself, to your breath, to your senses. And that's what today is all about. Real world, doable self-care strategies for tough times. Let's get into it. What actually is stress? At its core, stress is your body's way of responding to a challenge. Could be a deadline, a tough conversation. Maybe it's a sick child or a cat in your house or another animal. Gosh, when your dog is sick, that feels super stressful. Or it might just be the low hum of anxiety from the nonstop news cycle. All that media coming in every direction can be very stressful. And stress itself isn't inherently bad. As a matter of fact, this reminds me of a story I heard, and I have reason to believe it's real, that I think it was back in the 80s or maybe it was the early 90s. Scientists built a geodome. They basically built a gigantic life-size terrarium, and they filled it with plants, and there was water and soil, and they filled it with all of these living beings, including trees. And the trees are what's important because everything was going fine for months and months and months. And then all of a sudden, one day, the trees fell over. Why did they fall over? They had never encountered wind. They had never encountered a little bit of positive stress that helps them stay upright, that helps them to build resilience. So it's not that all stress is bad. It's just when it goes on too long, it can become chronic, and chronic stress wears us down. It depletes us. It starts to deplete our resiliency, our immunity, our ability to feel good in our bodies and minds. It dysregulates our nervous system, messes with our digestion, our sleep, our hormones, our ability to focus, and even our ability to feel joy. And maybe that's something that you've been feeling lately, where like you just don't have it, whatever it is, to keep going, to keep doing things. You don't feel joyful anymore. And so no, it's not just in your head, it's in your body. And that means healing from stress has to start with the body as well. One of the most powerful tools we have to navigate stress is mindfulness. And I know it's a word, it's a buzzword, right? It gets thrown around a lot, but hear me out, okay? Mindfulness is simply the practice of paying attention. Let me say that again. Mindfulness is simply the practice of paying attention, noticing what's happening in this moment without trying to fix or judge it. Throughout this whole conversation, I want you to remember there's no blame, there's no shame, there's just information and opportunity. We're just trying to figure out, can we observe what's happening in this moment? Matter of fact, let's try it right now, because my favorite way to practice mindfulness is deep breathing. Seriously, it never gets old. Your breath is always going to be endlessly useful and fascinating. Okay, we're going to do it together. And you can do this even if you're listening to me while you're driving a car, okay? It's called the box breath. And we've done it before in another stress related podcast. And there's actually a whole YouTube video on this about the Samavriti pranayam. You've heard me say that before. What is that in English, Veronica? Glad you asked. It's just same sided breath, same wind breath. I'll tell you what we're going to do first, then I'll talk you through it. We'll do it together, okay? So it's going to be inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, and holding for 4 counts. I'm going to talk you through it. So start out with an exhale. Let go of every breath you have right now. Let go of it all. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Good. Okay. Now inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Then come back to normal breath. Just notice how you feel. Super simple, really easy. You can do that anytime. You just have to remember to do it. That's the hardest thing with most mindfulness practices, is that you have to remember that you know to do them. Another one I really like is the body scan. And so this one's hard to do when you're driving or you're engaged in some other activity. So maybe you put this in your back pocket for later. But it's basically just sitting or lying down and bringing your awareness slowly from the top of your head all the way down to your feet. And actually, some people start with the feet and they'll go all the way up to the head. But I find it more grounding to start at the top of my head and go piece by piece, bit by bit, noticing where there might be tension or sensation. Maybe you breathe into whatever you find, working your way down the body. I'm noticing I've got a little tightness in my right shoulder. And that's a body scan. And there are body scans on YouTube that you can follow. There might even be some on Spotify. I don't know. But there are some out there that will guide you through it. So if trying to do that in your own mind feels stressful, which it totally can, you're not alone, friend. It's okay. But if that feels stressful to you, go and find one on YouTube. Definitely just doing that body scan can really help to not only ground yourself in your body, but to help take your mind onto the present moment of what's happening right now. So again, another mindfulness technique. Another one I really like is just plain, simple, mindful observation. Sounds so simple, but it's so useful. And sometimes I like to just light a candle for this. Other times I'll just look out my window. I'm facing the outside. I can look out the window and I'll just pick that. I have my favorite rock out there. It's more of a boulder, really. It's huge. But I'll just go and look at that rock and just be immersed in the details, absorbed in, oh, wow, I never noticed there are these little lines that go down the rock. Or maybe you've picked a flower or a leaf or anything. Maybe it's just your cup of tea. You can't see outside. You're at work. That's fine. And this is something you can do while you're driving too. You can have mindful observation of the road and everything around you so that you're safe. But you can be really conscious of what you're seeing when you drive. I drive a lot and I like to use this, especially if I feel like anxiety is starting to creep up. I make sure I'm like, okay, I am driving down the road. Oh, look, there's a bird back on the road. Oh, look, there's a car back on the road, right? I do this little mindfulness exercise and it's super useful because these aren't just like woo-woo practices. There's actually research showing mindfulness can reduce symptoms of anxiety, depression, even chronic pain. Believe it or not, it actually changes your brain over time. And many people have written books about this. There are plenty of articles out there. You can find enough corroborating evidence that these things work. But honestly, I think the proof is in the pudding. What you're going to do is try these yourself and see how it feels. While we're thinking about mindfulness, we don't want to get trapped just in the mind. We need to talk about the body because when life gets chaotic, physical care is often the first thing to go. I don't know about you, but when things are cuckoo bananas around here, I'll often start putting things like my yoga class that I'm supposed to take every Tuesday with Miss Annie Hoffman. Annie Hoffman, I love you. I'll end up having to let that go. And it's funny, it's just one class during the week. I take two a week. And if I just miss one, I feel it in my body. My body is my anchor. Your body is your anchor. It's your interface with the world around you. So we have to tend to it. So here are a few things that you really need to prioritize. They're what really matter. Movement. You don't need to run a marathon. You don't have to get all sweaty. You don't need to go sign up for what is it? CrossFit. That's the one. CrossFit is like insane levels of working out, which you don't need to do that. But just getting outside for a 5 to 10 minute walk, it can be life-changing, friends. Like it can make you change from to, oh, okay, I can handle things. Some gentle yoga. You don't have time to get outside. You can do a little stretch at your chair right now, interlacing your fingers and reaching your arms up towards the sky, or maybe you're spreading your arms out to the sides of the room. Just that little movement can absolutely make you feel better. One of my favorites, and I'll have to do a video of this sometime because I'm sure it's highly entertaining, but dancing in your kitchen. This is one of my favorite ways to get rid of stress in my body and my mind. A matter of fact, I'm smiling just thinking about it because now I'm like, I think I'm going to do that when I cook lunch here in a couple minutes. Is I love to put on some crazy song that makes me super happy. I turn it up way too loud. I'm so sorry, neighbors. And I dance like a freaking fool in my kitchen. And I know it sounds teasing. You're like, oh, I don't know. Whatever. Get over yourself. Go dance in your kitchen. And if you don't feel better by the end of a 2, 3 minute song, write me because we'll need to figure out what else is going on. But like, go pick your favorite song. Go dance like a fool. I really like Vampire Weekend for this for some reason. I know the name sounds like it's uber goth. It's not. It's super happy. But Vampire Weekend, if you're listening to this, like shout out to me, okay? Movement helps clear stress hormones from the body. It helps to remove those hormones that are causing the stress to amplify. So if you can move, you can get rid of it. It's going to feel so much better. Next up is nutrition. You have to eat real food or eat the realest food you have available to you. Let's put it that way, because some people live in a food desert and their version of real food is going to be different than someone who lives by a bunch of farms. But eat the realest food that you can find. It should be warm food, especially if you're feeling stressed. So now is not the time for salads. It is not the time for raw vegetables. It is not the time for crunchy snacks or anything like that. You want to eat food that feels nourishing. I think of soups. I think of casseroles. I think of braised things. I just posted a recipe for ground lamb with braised black radishes. It was so nourishing and delightful. We felt so grounded after we ate it. You want to avoid skipping meals when you're stressed. I know that's hard because I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm super stressed, I don't feel like eating. I certainly don't feel like cooking. And the idea of all of that can be stressful in and of itself. So find something that you can eat. So maybe that's even that you just need to drink a cup of bone broth until you feel like you have the capacity to do something a little bit more. So, I mean, you might even be eating things that don't look like a real dish or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just get some real warm cooked food in you, whatever that is, because that's going to stabilize your blood sugar and help calm things down. When your blood sugar is going crazy wackadoo, you feel more stressed because your body is now under a physical stress, not just whatever other stress you're dealing with. So don't add more fuel to the fire. Make sure that you're actually taking care of your dietary needs, whatever they might be. And sometimes it's just that you need like to start with a cup of warm milk or something, right? So again, make it simple, but definitely do it. And then, are you hydrating, friends? Let's hydrate together. I've got my bottle of water here with all its stickers. Take a big gulp, drink some water. Water is necessary, friends. I remember, and I probably said this in a different video, but there was a Sesame Street where they were a bunch of, I grew up in the 70s, so don't judge, but there were a bunch of cartoon hippies. It was an animated section, and they were going around their room and their plant. They had this huge, like, it looked like an aloe plant, but it was this huge plant. It was so sad looking and depressed. And they were trying to figure it out. Like, why is this plant not working? And so they put water in it. Just remember, I'll never forget, plants need water, man. Maybe you remember this. If you do, put it in the comments. We can laugh together. But you are like a plant. I saw a meme. You're basically a house plant with more complicated emotions. So which means you need water. If you're feeling really depleted, you can actually add a pinch of sea salt and a little squeeze of lemon, and that'll give you a little electrolyte boost. Really small thing, big impact. Drink water. Let's do it again. Drinking water. Good job. You just took a little step towards feeling better, and that's what it is. Every little step gets us closer. Okay. Sleep. I know it's not easy because that's one of the first things to go when we're stressed out, not because we're not trying to sleep. It's just that sleeping becomes harder when we're super stressed out. And I have to say, friends, as challenging as it might feel, doing your best to keep a consistent bedtime and wake time really makes a difference. Avoiding screens late at night, especially doom scrolling. No doom scrolling, please, at night. I usually do 1.5 to 2 hours. Some people are fine with 1 hour, but you want to make sure that you're not winding down with screens, but rather winding down with calming rituals that make you feel nourished, secure, grounded. And for me lately, that's been reading paper books with actual pages. There's something about that tactile experience, something about just seeing, it's just words on a page, no blue light. It makes a huge difference. Next up is emotional and social self-care. So the heart of the matter is your emotional world, and how you tend to it is incredibly important. And the biggest one here is the B word, boundaries. Boundaries, friends. When you're already stretched thin, overextending yourself is a fast track to burnout. You have to learn to say no or not right now. I'm married, so I often just say, let me check with my husband. But before I was married, I would say, let me check my calendar and get back to you. So if saying no in the moment feels challenging, you can always put a buffer in front of your boundary. Buffer in front of the boundary. I don't know why that's making me laugh, but it is. But you can put a buffer in front of your boundaries so that you have a little time to feel comfortable, because sometimes saying no is very uncomfortable, especially if you're a people pleaser or you want to say yes, right? Because we want to say yes. We want people to be happy around us, but you need to be happy first. I know it sounds selfish, but if you're not happy, if you're miserable and stressed out and unhappy, how helpful are you going to be to anybody else? Right? You're not. You're not going to be helpful to anybody else. So, boundaries. Learn to say no. Learn to get rid of people who stress you. I know this is not a popular sentence, but get rid of people who stress you out if you can. You don't have to stay in connection with everyone you've ever met in your life. Some people will self-select and just kind of fade away. But if you've got people in your life that are super challenging for you to be with, it's okay to say no to them. And you don't even have to give them any reason. You can just say, I have plans, or I can't do that. And if they do press a conversation and you feel up to it, you might say, you know what? I don't find that I feel so great when we hang out for long periods of time. And sometimes it's friends, and sometimes it's family, and sometimes you have to be very, very tactful, and you may never have that conversation with them. But if there are people that cause undue stress in your life that you can, I want to say, move away from, then don't feel guilty if you need to do that. Again, your health and well-being is your first priority. It really is. On the flip side of that is your besties, your very good friends, keeping in connection with those people that help you feel better. So that might be a short text to a friend. I am very lucky. My bestie lives in Canada and I'm close to her family, and her mom started a daily text just about every day where we get a dad joke, and they're amazing. And sometimes we get a historical fact. But every single morning, at some point in the morning, we'll get this message. And so her family and me, we all start weighing in on the joke or whatever. But and it's like, what? It lasts like 2 minutes, but it's funny and everyone feels connected. And I think it goes a long way towards bolstering up everybody's mental health. Sometimes that might be just a 10-minute phone call with someone who sees you. That can be medicine. Isolation makes everything worse. So reach out to that friend you've been thinking about. This is something that doesn't happen as we get older. We all stay pretty close to our friends when we're younger, but then as we get into our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, we have maybe a little network around us, but many people don't have anyone. And so reach out to the people that you are thinking about. I guarantee they want to hear from you. Sometimes we have that, like, I don't want to bother them thing go on, which isn't the case. I guarantee whatever friend you're thinking about right now would be delighted to just get a little text from you. Okay. Here's my favorite soapbox. It's the media diet. I saw a meme the other day. I think it was a meme, or I saw something a couple days ago that an American was in China and the American was talking about the news, and the Chinese person said, "Oh, you still watch the news? In China, we know it's all propaganda, so we just don't watch it anymore. I guess you folks haven't figured that out." And that hit me hard because I think there's a level of discernment that needs to be exercised, especially in this day and age. There's a lot of propaganda disguised as news. I know that makes me sound cuckoo banana cakes. I'm not. It's coming from every direction. Doesn't matter which side of the coin you're flipping. Every single direction has propaganda in it because everyone's trying to convince you that their way is the right way. And so it becomes very, 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 very important to subtract yourself as best you can from the news cycle and find ways to get your information where it's not weighed in one direction or the other. I think there's actually an organization called like 1440 or something like that that says they do this. I have not looked into them. They may not be a good source, but just trying to find something like that where people are just reporting actual facts. And how do you know they're reporting actual facts? There's no emotional component behind it. They're not trying to get you to think one way or another way. And I know this is an unpopular thing to say, but the news is wrecking your nervous system. I don't know. I've completely lost count at the amount of people that I talk to, and I see a lot of people on any given week that tell me that their stress levels through the roof because of the news. And when I say, have you ever thought about not watching it? They look at me like I'm crazy, like I just suggested that they dive off a cliff with no parachute. I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't need to hear all the things that are coming. Well, I won't be informed. Well, what are you doing with the information you have now? What are you doing with it? Are you going out and changing stuff with it? Because I mean, if that's your thing, if you're an activist, you're going out, you're actually affecting change because you learned about something, great. But if you're just sitting there and stewing in the information like so much overcooked beef, like that's not helpful for you. You're not doing yourself any favors. Just because something happened in the world and everyone's talking about it doesn't mean you need to immerse yourself in it. It's okay to step back. Staying informed doesn't mean you need to consume it constantly. And it certainly doesn't mean that you need to consume it from sources that may or may not Have an agenda. Okay. Okay. I'm going to stop talking about it. But just try it for a day. Try a news fast for a day. One day. One day. Don't do anything. Put your phone away. Lock it away if you need to. Delete things from your phone for a day or put them behind a little. They have those timeout things on different phones where you can program it to turn things off at a certain time. Maybe you put your phone on do not disturb for the day, except for like people that can call you twice and get through. Maybe you don't look up on the news, right? But to like take a day where you don't, or an afternoon, if a day feels like too long, take a whole afternoon. After lunch today, no more news till tomorrow. Give yourself a break at the very least. But if you feel up to it, start to separate yourself from the news cycle. You will be amazed at how much better you feel. And I guarantee if you need to know about anything, you will find out. Someone will tell you. It'll somehow seep in because Kevin and I don't watch the news ever. We don't actually have any news that comes into the house from any source. And we always seem to know what's going on because either someone tells us or it pops up in an email or whatever. And it's not that we have news alert emails coming through. It just someone will tell you if it's that important that it's going to affect somehow your day-to-day life in the moment, you'll find out. Okay, I promise. Okay, enough of that. Here's where it gets actionable. Here's where we actually have steps. Step 1, identify your stress signals. What are your tells? Is it tension in your jaw? Is it tension in your shoulders? Oh, it certainly is for me. Is it snapping at your partner or your kids or your dog? Yelling at them for things that you wouldn't normally yell at them from? Is it screaming at people in traffic? If you're acting unhinged in your car while you're driving, and Boston drivers, I know what it's like. I've been there. But like if you're starting to scream at people, that might be a sign that you're stressed out. If you're starting to skip meals, any of these things, you're not sleeping as well, anxiety feels like it's always there. These are signs, and I need you to start to notice your early warning signs. Here's step 2. Build your toolkit. Make a list of 5 things that help you feel more grounded. This is a sample list, okay? It could be journaling, taking a bath, time in nature, could be cooking, could be breath work, could be yoga. And I encourage you to write them down on a list. Maybe you could, like, in case of stress emergency at the top of the paper, and then write down all the different ways that you know you can reduce your stress. And maybe it's some of the things we've talked about today. Then you're going to create a rhythm, okay? You're not going to wait until the crisis hits. You're going to build these into your week now. Self-care is a practice, not a reaction. This is huge, friends. If you don't have things baked into your schedule already that help you feel better on a regular basis, then you need to shift that today. You need to shift that today. We have to have pressure release valves in our lives at regular intervals to help us manage our day-to-day stress. And if you have more stress in your life than the average bear, you need more of these. A practice that I got into a couple of months ago, or actually it's probably more like a year now, is that when I'm feeling super stressed out and overwhelmed, I sit for a few moments and I close my eyes and I do some deep breathing and I think to myself, what do I actually need right now? That's my first step. What do I actually need right now? And I listen to the answer, and often the answer is space. I need space. And I go, okay, how can I create that space? And usually my mind goes to my schedule and I start thinking of things that I could potentially let go. I don't know about you, but I tend to be a perfectionist and I want to get all the things done in a timely fashion in just the right way. And if I don't do that, somehow I'm a failure. That is not true. I'm here to tell you that is not true. And you can let go of things. I bet you if you think through your schedule right now, there could be some stuff that you're like, actually, probably don't need to do laundry today. If my day is already feeling super stacked, I have enough clothes, enough clean underwear, enough clean socks that I could get through for another couple days and it wouldn't matter. Oh, I could probably let go of this other thing too. Doesn't need to be done today. That's fine. Oh, I was going to cook this super complicated dish. What if I made something simple instead? What if I used my Instant Pot to just make chicken soup? Throw it all in, walk away, then it's done. Right? So stuff like that. Trying to really assess what's happening in your life and determine the things that absolutely need to get done. Yes, you need to be fed. Yes, your animals need to be fed. Yes, you have to pay your taxes, right? All of these things. Yes, you have to do whatever work it is. But if you're putting a bunch of pressure on yourself that is you putting the pressure because you think XYZ needs to be accomplished in a certain time limit that you imposed on yourself, you get to change it. You can change those self-imposed time limits, which I know feels weird because you're like, but I told myself I would do this. Deep breath, friend. You can always let it go. And then step 4 is check in with yourself weekly. Not like I was just talking about where you're feeling stressed out in the moment, you need to check in, but this is once a week, asking yourself, how are you doing? What do you need? What can you let go of? So I guess it is kind of like what I was saying. But this is more of a weekly thing, whereas before what I was speaking of was in the moment when I'm super feeling stressed. So it just actually happened to me a couple hours ago where I was like, oh my God, there's so much happening. I have to teach and then I have to teach and then there's this other thing and then I don't have a break. Da, 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 da. And I was like getting out of myself and I was like, whoa, Nelly, what can you let go of? What do you need? Right. But then make it a habit to do that at least once a week on purpose, not as a reaction, but as an action that you're actually doing it. And I recommend putting it into your schedule. Typically, it's good to do it midweek. So, like Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon, where you check in with yourself. You're just like, okay, what is the state of me right now? And then from whatever you determine, then you can pivot or make a new plan or stick with the plan you have. That's okay. So you don't need to have it all together. And you don't need to fix everything, especially not all at once. You just need to feel like you can come home to yourself one breath and one practice at a time. You don't need to do everything that we've laid out here today. Just pick one thing that feels like you can do it. And that might just be breathing. That's the simplest. That one you have right now. You have your breath right now. Just try that. Nice full inhalation, complete exhalation. You're going to be able to come back to this episode again later and listen to it again and pick up something else. Don't feel like you're alone. Reach out to reach out to me. Go for it. I have 15 minutes in my schedule for you at any time. Just reach out and let me know you want to talk and we can set something up, okay? I don't want you to feel like you're alone. I want you to feel like you have support. And so don't be a stranger. Take good care of yourself. Now, if this episode felt useful in any way, would you do me a favor? Would you hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this? I can't tell you how much it helps us here at the How to Take Care of Yourself podcast. When you do that, the algorithms actually boost our content a little bit more so that we can amplify the volume of this and reach and help more people. If you want to dive deeper into these practices, you want to work with me directly, head over to Veronica Wolff with 2 F's, Casey.com. So Veronica Wolff-Casey.com. Wolff has 2 F's, WOLFFCASEY.com. I've got more resources there. You can schedule to work with me there. And yeah, I hope I've helped you today. And if no one else has told you, I love you. And I'm convinced of your capacity to continue crafting a life worth living. Stay well, my friends. Take good care. See you in the next episode. Bye.